know, it's almost ridiculous to say, but without Celia Franca, I don't think there would have been a National Ballet of Canada. She was so single-handedly determined to create this once she was hired to come over to Canada. And when she was hired to come to Canada, it was just uncanny that she had the absolutely right set of skills for the job, a unique set of skills. She was a ballet dancer. She was a ballet mistress, which meant that she trained companies. She was a choreographer, and she had been a pioneer in choreographing ballet for television, because you have to remember that there wasn't television in Canada when she came over, but there was in Britain. And so she'd been a pioneer in creating a special ballet for television. So she came to Canada with the most amazing set of skills, and she just then became absolutely determined that she would have the best company, that she would compete with her companies back in Britain, and that she would prove to the world that she could create a ballet company of international standard, which I think she did. She came to Canada, had been hired in 1951, and she came to Toronto. And Toronto at that time, it's almost impossible to believe that, but it didn't have high-rise buildings. Fine dining was considered Fran's or Murray's, and one popped into the Honeydew. There was no subway system. In fact, it was being built. So she had come from London, England, where there was this subway system that had been used during the war for shelter. And here she was coming to a country where up Yonge Street, raw, right in front of her, where she was going to work at the Eaton Auditorium, was the construction of the first subway company. There was very little professional cultural companies in Canada and Toronto, and there were almost no professional, legitimate theatrical circuit for the companies to go around in. So she was coming to a very provincial, very raw, but very willing country. They were very much willing to experiment and develop their own arts. You know, I start the book by saying that Celia had two sort of inventions, or not inventions, but creations, one being the National Ballet of Canada and one being herself. Because she was always very, very aware of how she wanted to present herself. So the story of her life is very interesting. She made herself who she was. She started out as a little girl in East End London. She wanted to be a dancer or an actress from the age of 4. And you never understand, where does this come from? Where does this come from? John Hirsch wanted to be a theatrical director at the age of 4, and she wanted to be a ballet dancer. So she talked her parents into this, and so she just strove the whole time. And her life was just very interesting. When she was in England during the war, she danced with the Sadler's Wells. She traveled up and down the countryside. She danced with people like Margot Fonteyn. Then she came to Canada. She was involved. She was charismatic. She was involved with creating this company for 24 years. She brought over people like Eric Brun and many others. And then she had, at the end of her life, which was a hard part to write about, kind of painful, because she had 3 decades when she wasn't an artistic director. She left the ballet at the age of 53. So she didn't die until she was in her mid-80s. So she had a lot of years to sort of try and reinvent herself again, and she did. She kept reinventing herself and always keeping her sense of wanting to do the very best. She was a perfectionist, was hard on herself, but that's why she created what she did. My name is Carol Bishop-Gwyn, and I wrote the book, The Pursuit of Perfection, A Life of Celia Franca.